Hello everyone. So this is final. This is the concluding part of the step-by-step to creating your first SpecFlow Selenium project. So we've gone through lots of steps. So and this is going to be kind of interactive for everyone that have gone through step 1 to 11. So this is to help you to be able to do it properly. If you have any issues, to resolve it. So, and I would want to ask if anyone has got any issues before we start. So, and if not, then I'll just conclude the last part and that'll be it. Okay. So if you got any issues and you've gone through it, you couldn't solve it. So I'm going to start. Okay. So you are free to unmute yourself and talk. Okay. Or if you can put in the chat, that's fine. So it should be a workshop, so everyone should be able to participate and see if you have got any issues from there. Any question? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go through issues that you will have during the setup and also during running your system. So that'll be it. So one question. So I'm not going to go through this step again. So I've already got it recorded. So you should look at the video. So for those guys in the internship, yeah, we'll go through it again, but not in this particular. This should be issues to resolve. This should be a workshop to resolve any issues that you have. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go through this. Okay, so I've got this particular playlist. So if you want to look at that, so these are 12 steps towards you being able to create the Selenium SpecFlow test framework. So you got step 1, basically downloading and installing Visual Studio. You got step 2, integrations of SpecFlow with Visual Studio. Step 3, creating your first project. Step 4, you need to create your folder. Step 5, activate your SpecFlow Plus runner. Step 6, add your Nugget package. Step 7, you got the creation of your hooks. Step 8, you have your feature files. Step 9, you create your page objects if we are going to use page objects. Step 10, generate your step definitions. Step 11, then you run your test. So what we are doing right now is a part of the step 12 actually. So which is basically troubleshooting and also going through the step over and over again to be able to finish the test that we have. So I'll just bring this slide again. So I've gone through most of this particular slide now, which is all this to think, not this one, I think yeah. Yeah, I kind of even, yeah, these are kind of repetition actually, so you don't need to worry about those ones. So I've gone through all this in the video that I've just shown right now. So all these are covered in those videos. Creating the hooks are also covered. Your creating your feature files are in the video. Step definition, and also running your test. I've also even put the page object. Okay, there's a question in creating feature files, do we have to be typing or is advised to copy and paste? Of course, you won't be copying and paste because you would not have anything to copy actually. So you would, because your test, you have to write it out. You have to write your given when then out. So there might not be anything to copy and paste. Only copy and paste to save time, so I don't have to start typing them. And as you can see, I've already typed them in my code in my I've already typed them in on my slides, so I just need to copy them over. So that was the reason for the copy and paste. So okay, all right. So I'm just going to go through the last part, which is basically issues that you may find while watching the video. So 1 minute. Okay. All right, so one thing that let me just run my test. So what I have done the last time that we left, so I'll just do a quick recap. So for everyone, so the first thing that you need to do, okay, so you would need to create your hook file basically. So I have kind of added some bits, so which I'm going to comment out for now. So this is basically just to check where my code is being executed. So I just put that console to display that. So I'm actually putting that out right now. So the last time we left, this is where we are. So I just added this one, so I just removed it. So that is the bit that we have right now. So then also that is your hook file, so that you created. So then after that, you have your feature file. This is the feature file that we have. And as you can see here, I've got parameter, right? So if I go into this one, step definition, so I've got this step to implement basically. So the when clause. So this is when you type into the search field. And the last part is when you display the result. So this two is what I need to finish right now. So then we have a step definition. This is what we've done before. This is step definition. So we've been able to do 2 steps. So which is the giving, I think 3 actually. So the giving, you navigate, giving, you click on the search field, and giving that you, okay, I think it's 2. Okay, we've not done the type. So 2. So we need to do the when you type and the then clause. So that is what we've done. And we've done the page object. The page object allows you to be able to search for, arrange your fields when you've already searched for it. So you got your element, which we added. So we are actually getting the element by ID, and then we are clicking on the elements. So this is where we are going to start from for today, actually. So now, if you run this test first, so, and then we start from there. Okay, cool. So this is one of the issues that you will find. So, and I will let you know how you're going to solve it. So this is one of the issues. So once you, when you run your test and you want to actually debug and find what issues that you're having, so you go into the test, as I've seen that I've expanded it. You have 2 windows. One is the window that shows all your tests, and another window is the one that shows the log of the test at the bottom, which is the details. So your test summary, actually. So if you look into this one, it's going to tell you what failed, and you can be able to look down and see the message. The message here, if you scroll to the left, is saying that Chrome driver exe file does not exist in the current path environment. Yeah, so and can be downloaded. So basically, that what is telling me that my Chrome driver cannot be found. So what do I need to do to fix that? Because in my hook for file, I am calling my Chrome driver and I'm not passing any location here. Sometimes that does work actually, but it depends on your system configuration. It might not work because if your path is not set, you won't actually get it. So, but the best way is to actually make sure you get the path that your cron driver is stored in. One way that people do is you can go into this particular location that it gives to you, this one, and copy the exe and put it maybe in your C drive and then link it here. That is one way, right? I'm going to show you. Another way is to look at where your, you can copy it even in your driver. That's another thing, and link it from there. So that is one way as well. So another way is to kind of look at where your Chrome driver is. I'm going to show it to you right now because we've added Chrome driver in our what's it called, NuGet package as one of our NuGet packages. So because of that, it should be in our bin directory. Since it should be in our bin directory, we can go there and link it with this. So that is the reason I actually added this particular location so that it prints it out for me and I can see what is in there. So if I go to where my files are, sorry, 1 minute quickly. So my file is stored here. So if I go to my bin directory, yeah. So if you go to your bin directory, you should see debug, right? And in debug, you will see, yeah, Chrome driver. I think Chrome driver is there. But if you go down here and see what the error says, however, if you scroll down a bit, there is another link. It says open another additional output. You can click on this. This one will give you a better view of what the error is, basically. I think, yeah, you will see another one because I think it tries like several times. So if you open in additional outputs, you will see this screen like this, which I think is really better. So, and the message you have is Chrome driver exe does not exist in current directory or in a directory on the path environment variable. So, and you now have what it says that the driver can be downloaded at this junction, at this place, basically. So what you need to do is like, you need to check where your Chrome driver is, basically. Say it is not in the current directory. So your current directory will be your bin directory, basically. So what exactly is your current directory? So that is why I have kind of added this particular, let's see, 1 minute. So as you can see, your current directory is going to where it's looking at. You can check down. Okay, so let me go to the book. Okay, so this is your base directory. Basically, if you just write a code like this, and it's going to show you what your base directory is. So it's going to be in this particular location. It's going to be in this particular location, right? But you don't have your cron driver there, right? But your cron driver is in this particular location. So you can actually refer to it in this location. So to refer to it, to say, okay, use this particular cron driver, there is a C# code that you can use, which is basically this one that I actually wrote here. So I can commit this one out. So right, on comment rather, if I uncomment this one, and let us see the path that they are going to display. This is just like troubleshooting to see how you can actually fix different issues that you may have and to have a permanent fix, to be honest. So I am still not expecting this to pass right now. Okay, so as you can see, it's failed again. So this time around, I'm going to click on that again, this particular link. And you can see now it's telling me it's now outputting to locations, as I said, because this, for those guys that don't know a lot about C#, so there will be C# training for those guys that want to learn a bit of C#, basic one. So maybe that will start in the next 2 weeks. So console.writeLine basically will print what is in this particular code with what this one is stored, basically. So we have path-based directory and path. So what we have in the output is the path-based directory is this location. And we've looked at that location and we found that it is not in this location, right? Our exe is not in this location. But if you look at the one that we say path, it is in this particular location. So once you are also doing yours, you will see that it is here. So, but depending on where it is, so you need to use the right path. So, and this is where I've got mine stored, right? Which is the second path. So that is why I'm going to kind of pass that parameter into my WebDriver. So, and there I have something like that. So now I can say that look for my WebDriver in this particular location. All right. So that should get my exe, my Chrome driver at this particular at that location. So I can comment this one out. What I can do is to put this particular code in GitHub so that you can actually download it. So that's another thing I can do, so you'll be able to download it. So this console write line are not needed. They're just for explanation, to be honest, to see how I'm able to get my location, to be honest. So, and so now if I run this with the fact that I know that my exe is on this location where basically my directory for my assembly. So I can see that I should be able to get my cron started. One minute. Okay, it's running. Okay, it's started here. So you can see. Okay, I think that's what we are expected to do. So just click on that and that is done for us. So as you can see, like I said, as where you got amber, which shows that some steps are skipped. So if you open the console now, like I've done before, open the test. So you would see what we have. So you see this is done, this is done, and this is still pending. Because of the when clause pending, the then clause is skipped. So, and what we now need to do is to do the when clause and then the skipped one. That will be the focus for today. Any question on this? The first step is basically to just do like a quick troubleshooting and to see that if you have any issues, how you can actually solve it. Trust me, you have a lot of issues. So you just need to know how to solve it. So basically. Okay. So now we're going to go to the interesting part actually. So which is now how to kind of code the type one, right? Which is quite easy to be honest. So how can I type automation in the field? Then how can I get my result out? So to do that, you just need to kind of go into that step definition. You can right click and select go to definition or go to step definition, which one you prefer. So let's use this one. So then, yeah, we are here. So what do you need to do? We need to get the code that we type, right? But for us to do that, the first thing that where we need to start from is our page object, because we know we need the element for that particular field that we want to type into. So if you go to our page object, last week we've already got that, we found that this is our search field. We found that one out and we are actually identifying it by the ID. So what we need to do now is to type inside it. So we don't need to do another page object again. We just need to do another method that this particular search field is going to use. To do the method, we just say public void. So now we are going to enter or type whatever you prefer. Enter search. Okay, so that will be your method. This will be your method now that you're going to be using basically, which is entering search. You can call it different thing that you want to call it basically, but let it actually make sense. So now what do you want to do? We want to enter something into the search field. So we know our search field is called search field, this particular one. So we need to do the same thing. We need to say driver dot find elements. So open and close brackets. Initially, before now, you would have said by dot ID then that name of ID. Just trying to explain this without using page object, you put this ID there. Basically, let's just make to it. So this will be easy for people to understand page objects actually. So what you are trying to do is you find your ID. That is a search field that we're looking for. Then what you need to do then is say dot send keys. So what are you sending into it? So we're going to do it step by step. So you're going to send automation. Okay. So what I have done is not page object. So to say, this is the traditional way, basically, right? So for those guys that sometimes you would see this, something like that in other codes that you will see driver dot find element by then the search course input, which is our ID, then you send keys. So, but with page object, you don't need to do this. So the issue is that if developer changes this particular field, and we've used it here, we've also used it here actually. So you have to use it 2 or 3 places or 4 places basically, because this one also could have been driver find element by search field dot click, right? You would need to change it in 2 places or 3 places. But with page objects, you don't need to do that. You've only identified it at the top, you declare it at the top, you can use it anywhere. If this particular ID changes, you only need to change it once at the top and it just cascades to the bottom. So that allows you to be able to reuse your page object. So, and yeah, instead of using everything like that, you will just need to say driver dot find element. So instead of this by ID now that we have this particular one, right? So as you can see, it's the same thing that we have at the top, right? So instead of that, you just use this particular field. And you can complete it with the search, with the send keys rather. So then automation. So that is what you could do. So this is one way. This would type automation into the field, into that particular field. However, if you go back to our feature file, you will see the automation is passed as a parameter, right? Because it's passed as a parameter, we don't want to be typing automation. we want to type anything that is in this particular field, right? Because this can change to testing tomorrow, it can change to BA, it doesn't matter. So you don't need to write it like we've done. So for instance, I'm going to go through this. Let's just do it one after the other, actually. So from our search field, let's just leave it like this for now, right? So let's leave that. I will change this later. So for now, we have our search method. What do we need to do? We call the search method in our step. So what we need to do is like, because we've done this page object declaration before, we've also instantiate our page object like this. So, and we have a new instance of our page object. So this new instance is what we need to be calling, right? So we call that new instance, and in where we want to type into the search field, this place. So let's call the new instance, which is search field, search page. So, and you do dot. So you can see there is other method that we have. I can start to say click, I don't want that. So this is the one I want, enter search. That is a new method I just created. Then I would just call it. Okay. There's a question, is it wise to create another page for the page object module? No. So I would advise the best way to do is to have a page object per page, right? So for instance, now we are having search page. So you will put your page object for search page in this particular page. So if you move to course detail page, you will create another page object for that one. So by that, you know when anything changes, you know which particular code to go to, basically. And that is a good thing about page object, because element on a page is now being put in a particular class. So if element on that particular page has changed, you just go to that particular page object for that page and change it from there. So that makes your code tidy and also neater, basically. So it's not that you have to be looking everywhere for the page object. Is that okay, Chris? Or Christy, sorry. Okay, cool. All right. So, okay. So let's continue. We've just done this now. So if you run that, we're expecting that to type automation. So let's run it. Okay, so I've got it open here. Okay, as you can see now, is automation is typed, right? So since you now have automation typed in there, that is the end of this particular test. Okay, so but if you look into our result, it's going to tell you now, this is now done. So we are left with this. However, as I said, we've not actually finished it. We've kind of hard coded our search, which is not what we wanted, basically. Because for instance, when we have this change to, let's say, business analysis. So this you just worked. So, but what we've done, that won't work. It would just be typing automation every time. As you can see, that type automation again. So, which is not what we wanted. But that is fine if you only want automation to be typed everywhere. That's fine. But in some cases, you want your variables, yeah, to be passed as an argument. So how do we do that? So that's what I want to kind of look into quickly, right? So this is like data driven. So you're going to see that in our step definition, we have this particular variable passed, right? So, and it's saying that string PO, which is basically like parameter 0, right? So this is our, let's say it's the course that I want to type. So I can just call it a name that I want, string course, okay? So now what I'm going to do is like, I need to pass that course into my search field, right? I need to say, I want to enter course, right? So I will put course here. So as you can see now, this is underlined, which shows that, oh, this particular field is not expecting course. It's not expecting any parameter. Because it's not expecting any parameter, it says, I need to add the parameter to search. It's giving me that option. I can say, yes, I need to add it. Please do add it. So I click on that. So now if I go to my search, as you can see now, the course is now here. So it's now saying, okay, this enter search is accepting parameter course. So, but here you can see in my code, I am not using any course, right? But instead of saying automation here, I'm passing automation as a field, as a text here. I will just say, oh, I want to have whatever that course is. So basically, you can see how this ties together. From my feature file, I say I want to type the course, right? Then I go into my step definition. My course is passed as a parameter into my step definition, and that is also entered into my page object. So when I go into the method for my page object that I'm looking for what to start to type, so you can see that page object has got that parameter. And when I am saying I want to type something with my send key, instead of just putting this as kind of hard copy or typing it in there, I just use the course. So now when I run my test, it's going to change that to business analysis. So the browser is opened. I'm going to bring it on. So as you can see, yeah. So now you can see issues that you have right now. It's actually bringing that code with it. So technically, it shows that we don't actually need that. So I'm going to remove that now. So, and then run the code again. So I don't need this. So let me change this now. Instead of saying business analysis, let's say Scrum Master. Okay, so and run the test. Okay, all right. Okay, let me run it anyway. If you have any question, please do type it and I'll answer your question. Okay. Okay, that's good. So now we got this sorted now. So any question, please let me know. So the next step now is the then clause. So this is a bit advanced because you have to use assertion. So because the then clause is your expected behavior. How many features can we have on the feature files? So by features, you mean the clauses, right? All these ones. So you can have as many as possible. And also in terms, if you're also talking about scenarios, you can have as many scenarios as possible as well. So you can have one scenario for search for courses. You can have other scenarios for, let's say, okay, let's say we have something like this, and you can also have something like this. So this can be search for, let's say, automation. Search for. This can be search for Scrum Master. Again, this is where it becomes very interesting, actually. So, and this is the joy of SpecFlow, actually. So as you can see, I just copied and paste, and that actually does two tests for me. I don't need to change anything. It just binds everything. So, and that is the joy of having to parameterize your step as well. As you can see, this is for automation. This will search for automation, and this will search for Scrum Master. And I can do another test for business analysis just to find out there is business analysis. So I can do the same thing. What I just need to do is to change this business analysis. So, and that it's, so basically that's done. So yeah, I would now need to establish that the result is displayed, basically. There are different ways to do this, okay? So we're going to go through it now. So let's say I go to prep major. So if I go to prep major and I search for, so let's say I search for Scrum Master. So one way to do this, the easiest way I would say, is basically confirming the URL that it transfer you to the correct URL and you got the right URL. So at this point, you might not care what that is. That is one. It takes you to the right URL and you're okay. That is one. Another way is to, let's say, as I look for automation again. Let's say I say automation. No, I think that's not the right one. Let's look for one search field that's got more than one course. Let's say internship. Okay, so let's say we come here right now. Okay, we found something like this, basically, right? So we found something like this. So one way to do it is to kind of validate the URL, that is one, or on this particular page, you validate something like, okay, can I find course, right? So that's one way to do this. Okay, if I can find this particular course, I know that this page is displayed. That is one way because the course is generic. Another way, which is good, is to actually go in there and ensure that you find this particular text to say, oh, I've maybe to find this particular result, and the result contain internship based on what I'm searching for. That is one way to look at. Another way to also say that, yeah, I actually found it, but I know that I should see 4 cards, and I can see 4 cards basically by looking at how many you found. So this we will be able to look at later, but not in this particular class, because you have to use find elements to be able to do that. Find elements will return more than one for you and the occurrence, but you need to look at the class for this particular internship to see that anywhere you have the text has got internship, then you should return it. So it should return 4 for you, but you need to use the, what's it called, find element. But let's just look at the simple scenario, basically, like I'm looking for that particular element to have URL, this particular URL, okay? So that is what I am looking for. So we're going to do that in our code just to see that URL contains automation or contains this one. So let's look at that. So I'm going to remove the other one, okay? So for instance, okay, just to even help others. So I've just removed this particular step, okay? In there, there's nothing in there. So if I run my code, just to answer the question that in terms of how many number of feature files that you can have. So if I run my code, this will run 3 different tests actually. So say I've got errors. So let me see what that is. Okay, all right. So another good thing is saying I've got error message, which is really, really true, because your scenario title must not be the same, basically, as here. You can see I've got the same here. So it should not be the same. So it should have different names. So I should have changed this one to, supposed to have changed it to business analysis. So that should work. So let me run that now. Okay, so as you can see from here, actually, you can see that I've got 3 tests now updated. So basically, they're all 3 tests. They are no longer 1 test now. So if you run this, it would be 3 different tests. So that is one. Then the second one also came in as this. So, and the third one is this. So as you can see, this is business analysis, this is Scrum Master, and you have another screen for automation. So all with only 1 line of code, basically. So we didn't have to do anything again. So basically with that. So that is the joy of parameterization, which is basically data-driven development. So you've kind of put data into your code. So the next bit is this particular screen, right? To actually show that this particular step, to show that our test results. So I'm going to, before I do that, let me just remove this one because this is just kind of basically example that I've done. So I'm going to comment this one out, okay? So for feature file or step spec flow, if you need to comment any step out, you just need to put #. As you can see, that changes to green. So I need to put #. Okay, so that means that I don't want to execute this particular all these steps. So if I go into that step definition. And then because this passed, because I don't have anything in the then clause, so I need to do the then clause. So for me to do the then clause, like I said, we start from our step definition, which is this. Then after that, we move to our page object. So let's move to our page object. Our page object is this, basically, all right? So what we need to do now is to get one, okay? So we can do something, get a method here. So void, let's say public void, okay? And then we can say is page, just call it different name, page displayed. So is page displayed. So that is what we have when your page is displayed. But like I said, I just need to kind of quickly explain what this means again. So your public is your visibility, is your method visibility, how popular or where your method is going to be seen. So if it's public, that means other class can see it, right? So this is a class on its own. Page, search page is a class. Your step definition is another class. So it means that you can call it in your step definition because it's public. If you put it as private, your step definition will not be able to see it. You can call it. So like for instance, we have this as private, shows that if you go to your step definition, you won't see such field. You will only be able to use it in this particular class, which is okay for us because that's where we are only seeing it. So public means that you are able to see it everywhere in other class. Private means that you are only able to see that particular object or method in, or even, or let's say the variable in your class. So because we want to call this particular method in our step definition, it has to be public. Now, the next part is your return type, is what your page should return. One, we know that it should return something, right? Because we want to say if page is displayed. So you want to say if it's displayed, return true. If it's not displayed, return false. So that's what you want to do here. So from here, you said if page is displayed. So you would put something, a return type that returns true or false. And the return type that returns true or false is Boolean, is bool. Bool returns true or false. If it's true, then the page is displayed. If it's not, so here you would have a return keyword added. So a return keyword added. So what do you want to return? You want to return your driver dot, think is navigate. No, is it? No, sorry. URL, actually. URL. Your driver dot URL dot contains, let's say contains something that we know, right? So, and which is a good example, I'll start with easy step. Let's say contains prep major. Okay. So basically, this is just a simple example. So the URL that is going to return should contain prep major, which I know is not, it should be true, but it's not sufficient test, but it's simple test for now, actually, because that is actually telling us it's not being redirected to BBC, and also the page is at least displayed. So you can say contains prepmajor.com. That is one. It doesn't actually say that, it goes to the search page itself. But let's see if that would work. So as I have kind of removed some tests, so this is C showing 3 tests, which is not right? So what you could do, you can clean your build and then build it, or you can just select rebuild. So I will just say clean, then I will build again. So that will reflect the number of tests I've got now. Okay, so on the search now, so I've only got one test basically. So if I run that, I'll need to see that that passes actually, so that then we can see what we can do to expand this particular test. So that is running. So this is what I've got on this one. So as you can see, it actually get automation and also it's got prep pager. So Paul, let's see, but it's not clicking on that, which we're expecting it to click. So that's another thing. That's the thing that that particular test that we have is not sufficient, because when you click on that, it should take you to this particular page. It should take you to this particular page. So, but let's say we have this, it contains this search. Let's say this page that we are going to contain search page, rather than saying contain prep major. So this is one way of asserting it. Oh, sorry, I have not even used it actually in my page object. So it's going to pass in my step definition anyway. So one way is, so this is my page object. So you need to go to your step definition and call this particular method, all right, with an assertion, right? So let's go to our step definition. So in here right now, because it's not doing anything at all, basically. So let this one finished, and then we can do that. That's why it's actually just passing. Okay. So now what I needed to have done is to call that particular page, right? The page object, the method that I have done here, to call it in my step definition as I have done before. the same way I've done for this one, I need to do the same thing. I can say underscore search page, okay? Then dot. This time around, you will see my page object for the method for is page display. I can cut that. So then, but now this is going to return true or false for me. So what I need to do now is to assert it, right? Because we've used SpecFlow Plus template, right? And it comes with Flint Assertion. We can use Flint Assertion here. But if you did not use that particular template, right, you can add Flint Assertion as part of your NuGet packages. You just need to go to NuGet package and add Flint Assertion. So to use Flint Assertion, you just need to put dot should. So if you do that, this is going to be underlined, and you can put your mouse on it, and it's good, or you click if that is better. When you click, you have this particular IntelliSense. So you can say using Flint Assertion. That allows you to use Flint Assertion. So should, then you can now say dot be true, right? So, and that would assert that for you. There are different assertions that you can use. You can use NUnit assertion. I think there are different assertions. Those are the popular ones. If you use NUnit assertion, I think that one is going to say assert true. Then you can put everything in the code. But Flint assertion is so fluent, basically. So you can see it's also very English, right? So you can say, oh, this is what I want to assert, everything like that. So my is page display, what I'm getting, and it should be true. So it's very, very popular actually these days to use Flint assertion. So, and yeah, so what we have now is this. So we are going to run it now, which I'm expecting it to fail. And I want someone to tell me why, if you are following me. So it's going to fail. Yeah, I am expecting. So if I go into the step definition here, I am expecting my URL to contain search. So let the browser comes up. So if it comes up, I'll bring it onto the screen. Not sure it's that one. Okay, is this new one coming up now? Okay. So automation. Yeah, cool. So I am expecting that to fail. And do you know why it failed? So my result here is saying that it's expecting that to be true, but it is false, right? It's expecting that to be true. But another thing is going to SpecFlow is so brilliant actually. So it will try several times. This is, I'm not sure that I like it or not. So it's going to say, oh, okay, that was false, but it could be like a negative failure actually. So it's going to try several times to be sure. So it's trying again. So that failed again. So that's it. So now I just want to know why that failed. It actually failed because we did not click on this. we forgot that step to click on the search, right? So that is where we need to go to and confirm that. So we need to put that in our feature step, right? So and I click on the search button. So that should be there. So after you search, then you should click on the search button. So we need to get that. So now I've added this particular step. So what do I need to do? I need to create the step definition for this. So by doing that, I can say go to step definition. But I know that there's no step definition for it. So because there's no step definition for it, it's going to give me an error message like so. And it's going to ask me that, oh, there's no step definition. So, but do you want to copy this particular snippet? And I say, yeah, cool, copy it for me. So I'll copy that. Then I'll go into the step definition at the top, the one at the top, and I can paste my step definition that I copied. For guys that are starting new, sometimes I always advise that you know where to copy it to. Always make sure that you copy within the last braces of the previous one and before the next one. Or if you take this one as a block of statement, right, then make sure you go to the end of it and paste it there. So that is where it should be. So, and ensure that you don't have any error at all. This is very, very important. So you don't have any error and everything is okay. So now we can now create the step to click on that search button. One thing that we need to do, that I said, is now kind of repetitive now. So you need to know the first step after your, the next step after your step definition is your page object. So we go to our page object, right? So because it's a new button, we've not actually got that before. So I'm going to say something like this. Just copy and paste that. But I will change this one now to button, right? Just to make it easy for you. So now I need to get another, this particular one is a button. But of course, the ID is different. So I need to change that, or I need to find another way to locate it. So let's say I want to use an ID, then I can call the ID blah, 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 like that. So that would be the ID for that particular button. But let's go into the field and check it actually. Where's the, okay. So we need to inspect that element. So that element, so if you inspect it once again, and it's been highlighted as this, so you can see. So what you could do is there's two ways. You can click on that and copy. You can copy Css Selector, or as you can look inside and see what you can use. So this hasn't got anything unless the class. So if you can say you can use class, of course, I can say it is not advisable. So if you look up a bit, I think, okay. If you look up a bit to this part, this is still okay because it's highlighting everything. If you put your mouse on it, can you see it's highlighting everything? So you can look into the property that's got href, and we don't need to use that. It's got class as well, so you can decide to use the class. But to make it easy for you, let's use the CSS, okay? Let's say copy CSS Selector. If anything fails, I know sometimes CSS will not fail, CSS and XPath are really, really good, to be honest. So if you want to have kind of a rule of thumb of what selector to use, I would say go for CSS and or XPath. And I know there are different school of thought on which one is better. For me, I'll go for CSS, to be honest, before XPath. So, but yeah, depending on what you want. So let's go for CSS selector. Okay, copy that. We go into our code. So now we are not using ID now, we're using CSS. So let's remove the ID. Dot CSS selector. So then instead of this blah blah, we'll paste what you copied, and that is what we have in there. Okay, so that is our search element found. The next bit now is for us to create our method. As you can see now, it's basically, it follows all these steps. First, your step definition. Second, identify your object, put it in your selector here, actually, like that. Then create your method. So create your method and say public. So this time is going to be void because we are not returning anything, just click. So we just say click search button. And this time around, we just say, okay, the same thing, you can do the same thing that we've done here. So, and say driver dot find element. So if you're using traditional approach, you just say by dot CSS selector. Then open bracket. So then that's the CSS selector that we've done, and dot click. So if you are not using page object, that's what we will have put in there, in there basically, right? So, but since we are using page object, we're going to use our page object. We already got a variable, so we just do. I'm going to comment this one out because that is not what we should do. So I'm going to say driver dot find element. Okay, hold on. Instead of doing this, so just that to make it easy for you guys, I'll copy that. So instead of using the traditional approach, so it's the same way, but it's only that since we already use this one as our page object, all this like that. So inside that will be our page object, the one that we've instantiated at the top, so which is our search button. So I will just put that inside instead of the find by, because that's exactly what that is basically. So this is our element at the top basically. So we just replace that with those, and then this is how we will do. So now this is our method. The next step now is basically go back to your step and call your element. Call your page object from there and call your method. So click search button and open and close bracket. And that should do for you basically. So then if you click on that, Okay, I've got the browser opened. As you can see now, we are able to click on that, and it's going to kind of confirm that we have searched. So that is a simple test, basically. So I would just say the best test could have been you search for the course, right? And or you search for automations in all these ones, just to be sure that it's got automations and you know how many you're expecting and count all of them. So that is one way of doing that. So, and then you count the number and you validate the number. So that is a bit advanced, which I'm not going to cover here. So it might be something that we'll cover during the internship for those guys that are going to do the internship. So, and that will be it for today. The other bit that we will not be able to cover is basically using examples. So we would cover that during the internship for those guys doing the internship. So in the later part. So we use examples, and we will also be able to use different parameters that you can actually pass using the pipe within your steps. So that's another thing that we can cover. So we'll also cover weights as well during the internship. So any question before we go? So any question, you can type your questions while I just do a quick recap on the steps once again. So if you want to do end-to-end, basically, this is now end-to-end what you need to do. So the first step to this particular end-to-end is you need to create your step definition. Sorry, you need to create your feature file. Once you create your feature file like this, you will need to type it out. After that, you would create your step definition. You can click on generate. That will generate step definition for you. Or if you already had one before, you can go to, let's say we now add another step definition like this. And I say results is displayed as blah. So that will show like a blue for you. So you can generate that step definition by clicking on go to step definition. So you copy that and you go into your step definition, and you can go to the bottom part actually, so that you know that you are at the bottom. So you can paste that there as your new step. Once you have that, it's also possible that you would need to be coding a particular element. If you are going to be interacting with an element, of course, you need a page object. So you would either create a new page object if it's a new page object on a new page, or use the former one that you've already had. So let's say I've got one here. So if it's a new element that I'm going to be interacting with, I go to the top, right? I find the element, right? Using any by clause that I want. There are different ways that you can find it, okay? You can use the class name, you can use the Css selector, you can use the ID, you can use link text, basically like if you want to click on a link, you can use name. We're going to cover all this one in the internship, okay? You can use the tag, you can use XPath. Those are different ways that you can locate an element. So basically, you locate the element, you then declare the element. After you've declared the element, okay, you will create a method. So once you create a method like this, okay, and then you perform the action you want to perform on that particular element, whether you want to kind of click on that element or you want to verify if the element is displayed. You can also verify if the element is enabled, or you want to clear that element, like a text box. You want to say that it contains something, but you want to clear it first. Or you can also say, if you want to say you want to find more than one element, you use find element with S. That returns more than one element for you. You can get attributes of that element. You can get the CSS value of that element that you can validate. You can get location if the element is selected. With send keys, you can send keys into that element, or submit, or get the tag name, or get the text of that element. Like for instance, if you want to validate that that course is displayed, so you can get the text of that particular element. And then once you perform your action on that element inside your method, right, you go to your step definition back, and then you can now call that particular method here. You can call that method that will perform the action because you already have the actions in your method. Or you can validate here. If it's a then clause like the one I've got right now, you can validate that particular element using an assertion like what we have right now. So you can say, oh, should be true. You have different ways that you can do. Should be false. Also, you can also say, yeah, it should be a string. There are different ways actually. So should be equal, basically. Yeah, you can say equal to. So if you know what it equals to, you can say it should be equal or should be that particular value. Let's say that text should be course or should be automation, something like that. So you can do that. So if you want to validate that assertion. So that is that right now. If you have any question, let me know. So, okay, I've got some questions here. So, at what time do you automate during testing? So if the question is like, when do you need to automate, basically? So in most cases, people will automate. There are different ways, actually. Let me put it that way. So some people will start automation as early as possible, right? Because if you already have a step that is kind of repetitive, you want to automate that as soon as possible. And also, if automation is the goal, actually, so you would be doing the manual testing and you also be automating as well. So that's one. And some people are basically employed as automation tester. So there is some roles that only manual tester. You got manual tester in one part of the company and you got automation tester in one part of the company. If that is the case, basically the automation tester will be testing the application manually. So, and they won't automate at all. So you already know that there's a manual testing going on. So you will focus on automation, basically, if you are automation tester. So basically, it's not going to be like all application will be tested. Another good thing here, I've mentored some people. Some people that are looking for a job, you just need to know a bit about automation, right? So you know what it is, you know how to do it. Sometimes I've mentored some people, after they know this, they get a job. What they are doing is basically manual testing. But if you don't know automation, you won't get the job because the interview, they'll be asking you about automation. So, but when you get to the job, then it's even easier than you thought. So basically, that's where a knowledge of automation is very, very important. So when do you start testing? Basically, if automation, so you can start automation even before manual testing, basically, because even before the code is done, you can start to create your feature file, basically, right? Your feature file can even come before you start to do manual testing because you know what the code should do, like should be basically, because you have requirements, right? You can write this one down even before the application is developed, because this is going to come from the requirements, right? Then also, you could also create your step definition as well, because this does not relate to the code, to the application. So you just know that this is it, right? Because you can create this framework. That's what it's called, framework. You can also go back to your page object, right? You can create this page object as well, leaving this bit, all right? Because this is only the bit that comes from the application, all right? And all this one you can do, right? So the next thing is like all this will be done except this bit, basically. So once the application is done, then you can start to put all these slots that you found in the, what's it called, in the, when you inspect the element. So you can see that even before manual testing is done, you can even start automation, basically, if that makes sense to you. So the utility and what goes into them. Yeah, okay, I actually explained this actually. So I said for a basic user, you don't need to worry about this. So utilities, I can say, I think I've got the slides, you can actually watch the video. I explained this in the video talking about the, what's it called, the folder structure, right? So I will quickly go through that right now, right? I said the driver, I mentioned this in the beginning. For some of you, you want to, like in the instance when I said the Chrome driver. So my Chrome driver is in my bin directory. For some people, they'll put it here so that you can refer to it as I've done. Like mine is in the bin directory. I am referring to it in the bin directory with using this particular code, right? So for some people, you put in the directory here, and you can now say it is C/so, you refer to it. So that is the driver. So for test data, you want to use, you might need to use like CSV, you might need to use other input, output, test data, or you also want to have screenshots. During the internship, we'll try to cover the screenshot as well. Because when your test fails, you want to get screenshot of the failure, right? So you will put them in your test data. So that, and also if you, let's say you have large data input like CSV or XML or any other data that you want, you put them in the test data. Then also you have the utilities. Utilities is like basically like you, let's say we try to use a wait statement, which is common in all this one, you have to be calling the wait for maybe some of your tests, or you are going to be calling the screenshot for most of your tests to get screenshot, because those are utility classes. So you put them in the utility classes. So utility folder here. So that is the purpose of the utility folder. All right, cool. Any other question? How can we get previous lecture? So if you want to go to get the previous ones, you just need to go to YouTube actually. So if you go to YouTube, youtube.com. So what's that? So if you search for Blue Sky Citadel, so you will see all our videos. The present one is this particular one. So if you go to the playlist, so you'll be able to see, so this is a previous one I've done. So you can actually go into any of the video that we've done, whether in this particular session or previous one that we've done. So, and that should be it. And yeah, I've got some also on my LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn. Okay, I think that explains it. So because it's running in Chrome, let me bring that out. So if you go to my LinkedIn, actually, you can see some of them I also posted one this evening, one set actually, step 1 to 11. Yeah, so you can see step by step to creating your test framework. So where's that? Think. So yeah. If you just search for my profile, I think you'll be able to see. Yeah, all these ones are there actually. Yeah, so you can see. Yeah, so that is it. Yeah, so for the guys doing the internship, I think we only got few spaces left for manual testing from for the automation rather, if I am correct, basically. So that is only few spaces. So, and that is left. I think this is just recently opened. I think we already have almost like 12 people. So if you're still interested, so you just need to apply today and that should be it. So, and the only thing that you can say, watch the video that's just showed to you. So that's fine. You should be fine. By next week, we are starting the internship. So you might, yeah. Okay, I've just been told that you only have 8 left. Okay. You only have 8 spaces left for the, you know, for the automation. So if you are really interested, you should apply today. If not, that will be it. Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you so much, everyone. So any question, please, you can send it on the Telegram as well.